So I just finished a Plague Tale Requiem, and boy does this game bite way harder than the first game did. Now this is a great thing. So right up front, I just want to say this game is a massive improvement to the first game in the series. From the set pieces to a more impactful story, it has improved upon what was already a great game in just about every possible way. But before we dive into this review, I would like to take a moment and say if you're new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing if you do happen to enjoy the video. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this game or the franchise as a whole. Also, as a really quick notice, I do pretty much play every game I review live on Twitch. I'll drop a link in the description below to my Twitch channel. Feel free to drop in and check me out live. I have a small community that's growing, but we're always having a blast, and I'm sure if you stop on by, you'll have a blast as well. But without further ado, we got a lot to get into, so let's get into it. So A Plague Tale Requiem picks up a little bit after where the first game left off. You still play as Amicia, an adventurous and cunning girl, doing everything in her power to protect her younger brother Hugo. Set in an alternate reality of 14th century France during the 100 Years' War, you travel the land trying to discover more about Hugo's strange illness and possibly even find a cure. So right up front, I'm gonna say the story of this game is definitely the most amazing thing about it. It's the strongest point of the game. The characters that make a return from the first game are still just as fun and amazing as ever. Not only do you get to see them again, but you actually get to see character growth in all of the characters, from Amicia to Hugo and even Lucas. You get to see the side character make tremendous growth in his journey as well. Not only do we get these characters back, but we get to meet a whole new set of characters in this game along the way. And each new character brings something new to the table. They help Amicia and Hugo overcome new challenges, and they actually help them grow and develop along the way, which is super cool. They bring something to the table. They're not just there as a set piece. They're extremely well written. The voice acting is top notch. Everything about the plot to the characters and all of it is phenomenal. Not only is the story and the characters in the story well written and well casted, if you will, but the graphics are beautiful and stunning, especially the lighting effects in the game, which is a very big plus. Now, if you played the first game, you know lighting is super important in this game because the light is what keeps the rats at bay. Fires, torches, and natural sunlight all shine wonderfully and bright against the dark, gloomy, rat-infested shadows. Plus, the game is constantly mixing up the setting and the atmosphere with different environments. You get to sneak your way through it and explore. It is beyond stunning, and it is definitely an A+ in my book. The only downside is, I will say, if you do play on consoles, the game is locked at 30 frames a second, which sucks, but honestly, for this game, the way it plays is not the biggest deal in the world. It's not a complete deal breaker. It's not a very action-packed game, so you'll notice it, but it'll be tolerable. I did play on PC, so I did get higher frames. I played a tiny bit on my Xbox. It was kind of a slog compared to the PC, but it's something you could still enjoy and have fun with. So yes, the game has a wonderful story. Yes, the environments are amazing, but what about the overall gameplay? Now, this is something that honestly is not the best in the world. It's not the worst, but it's nothing to write home about. The game is mainly a stealth game with some action through it, and unfortunately, this is kind of where the game is sort of mediocre and falls short. The enemy AI is not bright at all, super easy to manipulate. Distracting guards by throwing a pot or making a rock hit some empty armor is simple enough, but after a while it does start to get a little bit stale. And I wish there was some more overall mechanics to the stealth sections of the game. That said, there are sections that add some new gameplay options to sneak past those or take them out, but it's limited to only certain chapters of the game. So you get a new gameplay mechanic, it's super fun, it's super cool, but it doesn't last throughout the entire game. Is in a brief period of it, which is kind of a shame. This is a game that felt like it was trying to that told a story and showed a journey of a brother and sister, and that was the front seat. The gameplay was just kind of thrown in to get you through it, to tell the story. It's sort of more like an interactive movie, not a walking simulator, but definitely more of that vibe than an overall great gameplay experience. Like I said, it was not terrible, but to be honest, I think if anyone is looking for amazing stealth mechanics, they're not going to be really happy in that area with this game. So while the game is mainly stealth focused, there are combat sections and there is combat in the game. In fact, sometimes it feels like it's leading up to this epic boss fight, and almost every time you think there's one of these epic boss fights coming up, instead the character or villain is killed or taken care of via cutscene. This started to feel very anticlimactic for me. I just spent the last few chapters building up and being ready to face and murk this guy, and instead of letting me take care of this enemy, the game gets rid of the character via cutscene again. You honestly start to feel robbed from achieving your victory, and honestly by the end, you just kind of expect every major villain to be killed via a cutscene instead of gameplay. Like I said, I believe they wanted to tell a story more than they wanted to make a very deep gameplay mechanical game. And that's okay, but from a player standpoint, you just start to feel like whatever. Sometimes you would even enter this amazing looking environment that actually, you know, when you enter an environment in a game that looks like this is gonna be a boss battle and you're ready for it, and you just sense it's coming up, and instead, unfortunately, you would just go into a cutscene and you would just watch the enemy be taken care of as you put your controller down and you take a drink of whatever you're sipping on as you play this game. Now, the game does try to have some sort of gameplay mechanics in it. It does have a perk system, for example, and the way the perks level up is every time you beat an area, depending on how you beat it, you get experience. So it's based on your gameplay style instead of putting points into the perk system. And as you progress through the story, the perks level up with you, but they're just passives and they're kind of minute. They don't really matter, so it's cool while they're there. I feel like most people are not going to pay attention to these unless you're going for trophies or achievements where you have to like max out the tree or something like that. Also, the game has a crafting system, which is kind of cool, but unfortunately it falls into the trap that I feel a lot of games do, where you craft on the fly in the middle of combat or wherever, just super fast. So why it's there, why doesn't the game just have you simply pick up ammo overall? I'm not really sure why this is a big mechanic in games. It's something I'm personally not a fan of, but overall it really doesn't matter. It's almost just like two pointless systems, but hey, they're in there if you care about that type of stuff. So that pretty much covers everything I want to say about the game. Overall, the gameplay is very simple and there's really not much depth to it. But man, the story is so strong that I still enjoyed my time with this game, and I played it from beginning to end, enjoying it and wanting to see what happens next. I will say it took me about 16 hours of gameplay length. That includes like pauses and breaks and stuff, so probably more like 15 and a half, somewhere in there, to complete the game. So the game wasn't overly long, which I think is a good thing, because with how simple the gameplay was, if it was like let's say it was like 25-30 hours, I probably would have started to get bored and feel like I'm forcing myself to play it just to see how the game ends and what happens to these amazing characters. But it wasn't so short that the characters didn't get time to develop and the game didn't get to tell the story that it wanted to tell. And also, I will say the story is so impactful and it tells such a horrifying and dire adventure. So dire that sometimes you could be walking through a beautiful sunny field and still feel the weight of dread on Amicio and Hugo's shoulders, which is incredible and something that like I don't think we should completely like pass up on just because the gameplay was simple. All right, would I recommend buying this game for full price? I'm gonna say if you enjoy story-driven, highly narrative games, then I would say it's most likely money well spent. You won't regret buying this game. In fact, this is definitely one of the best of those style games to come out in a very long time. But if you're looking for something with a little bit more in-depth, gameplay wise, and focused more on just like the stealth mechanics or the combat, I'd honestly wait for a sale. At least still check it out at some point. The game is definitely worth checking now and not just taking a total pass on, in my opinion. Also, I'm gonna just say it really quick shout out. The game is on Game Pass, so if you're subscribed, it's a no-brainer. At least download it, check it out. If you don't like it, uninstall. No hurt, no foul. You can't go wrong with that. But all right, guys, that's all I really gotta say on this topic. I hope if you do end up picking up a Plague Tale Requiem that you enjoy it as much as I did. You know, try to stay in the light, not give up hope, and do whatever you do, don't become a rat's dinner. As for me, I've made my way through this hell of a game, so I gotta get back to work. I got a ton to do, so I'm gonna get back to the grind, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.